KTLV, Midwest City, Oklahoma City.
The following is a paid program. The views and opinions expressed or products endorsed are not necessarily those of KTLV, its staff, or management.
You, wherever you are. This is a Clara Luper radio show, and today's show is being brought to you by Johnson Sardina's Daycare Center. A center that's rejoicing because on last week, Bishop Smallwood celebrated his 80th birthday, and did they jump at Johnson Sardina's Daycare Center. Johnson Sardina's Daycare Center, located in the heartbeat of Oklahoma. One of the oldest daycare centers in the state of Oklahoma, owned by Mr. and Mrs. Paul Matthews. A daycare that's more than a daycare. It's an educational system. It is a system where your children can learn about computers. I call it a preschool and nursery. Located at 1643 Northeast 50th Street. The telephone number is 424-4656. And also at 2611 North Martin Luther King Avenue. And that telephone number is 427-5274. They do have educational programs. If you don't believe it, ask Nigel. Nigel will sing songs for you, tell stories, all because he's had the experience of being at Johnson Sardina's Daycare Center. So Bishop Smallwood, from all of us here at KTLV, we say happy birthday to you. Bishop Smallwood celebrated his 80th birthday last Saturday. Very active and one of the most intelligent men in Oklahoma because he always listens to the Clara Luper radio show. Today's show is a very special show. It's being brought to you by your favorite Allstate independent agent, Marilyn Hildreth, located at 730 Britton Road here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. What kind of insurance do you need? You don't have to worry about it anymore. Let Marilyn take care of it for you. Her telephone number is 843-0811, and you may call her at 427-8399. Hometown IGA is open 24 hours a day for your convenience, located on Northeast 23rd and Martin Luther King Avenue. Mr. Gates already now at Gates Barbershop, 2609 Martin Luther King, in order to give you the haircut that you want. He can give you a traditional haircut, a present haircut, or he can give you a haircut of the future. Mr. Gates and Mr. Gamble are waiting for you. You don't have to call for an appointment. All you will have to do is to go right in at Gates Barbershop, 2609 North Martin Luther King Avenue in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Sometimes we neglect our eyes, and I don't want you to do that because I want you to call Dr. Dial, 235-0536. Ask Dr. Dial for an appointment. Maybe you are having some peculiar headaches. Maybe your eyes just feel tired and withdrawn. Go to Dr. A.L. Dial, 934 Northeast 8th Street here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Let's talk about home and health care. When we talk about home and health care, we have to talk about Passion Home and Health Care. Passion Home and Health Care, located at 3838 Northwest 36th Street. The telephone number is 943-5779. That's Passion Home and Health Care, 3838 Northwest 36th Street in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Remember, home care is necessary. You don't have to be thrown away. You can stay in your own home. Remember that home care is geared to your individual needs. If there are any questions or any requirements, all you have to do is to call Passion Home Health Care. Now, don't forget, This home care is owned by Mrs. Deborah Jackson, who has one commitment, and that is to serve you at all times, to give you the best, all patients and clients. They also offer Give Me a Free Hand. Passion Home Health Care, located in Oklahoma City, a new health care service agency coming to serve you and the people you know who need service. They have a staff of trained healthcare professionals that care for the clients in homes. The nurses monitor the client's medical conditions. They have a doctor on call. They have certified home health aides that work under the nurse's supervision. Passion Home Health Care, formed out of concern for patients and their families in our community. Yes, they have 24-hour a day service, 7 days a week, and they would like for you to know all about them. And the main thing they want you to know is that they are efficient and ready to serve you. Well, Bishop Smallwood, this is your day. Happy birthday to the birthday man. Wonder what did he do on his birthday? I don't know. But being 80 years old, I know he really celebrated. Today's program is going to be a very special program, and I want you to call a friend because today we're going to dedicate a portion of our program to one of our fellow co-workers in the great cause of civil rights, in the great cause of community activities, in the great cause of religious affairs, Reverend Clyde C. Carroll. Yes, this is a Clara Luper radio show, and you may call your friend and tell them that Clara Luper is on the air. Today, we would also like to make some more announcements, and I want you to get your pencils and paper out because I want you to have the facts of the case. I don't want you to have to run around and say, I wonder what's going to happen next. I want you to know the facts. And the fact of the case is that you are listening to the most listened at program in the state of Oklahoma, that fabulous Clara Luper's radio show. Ask me what is the best radio show, and I will tell you. It's the Clara Luper radio show. No, I'm not being cocky. I'm just being Clara. I'm from Hoffman, Oklahoma, and last night that Gray Hoff Club met at Freedom Center. Mr. Gene Mathis presided, and they are planning a big picnic, and it's going to be a picnic because it's going to be in that lovely, spacious home of Mr. Gene Ford. Now, if you are from Hoffman, Oklahoma, if you're from Grayson, Oklahoma, get in contact with Gene Ford immediately, or some of the other officers. Mattie Baker is the first vice president. C.P. Wilson is the second vice president. Onita Brown is the third vice president. The secretary is Johnny Mae Nixon. The membership secretary is Betty Germany. Gladys Elliott is the parliamentarian, and all you've got to do is to get in contact with them and get ready for this party. Reverend, it's a picnic, but in Hoffman we call everything a party. And we're going to really have a good time, and that's on August the 13th in the home of Mr. Gene Matthews. It's Freedom Fiesta time in the state of Oklahoma. Since 1958, we've celebrated the Freedom Fiesta, which is the beginning of the sit-in movement in Oklahoma, with a week's celebration. Now, this week will be no exception, and I want to tell you all about it because I want you to be on the ball and I want you to be a part of it. Now, the Freedom Fiesta, let's get these dates down so you won't be confused, will begin on August the 18th. On August the 18th, the Freedom Fiesta will start. This is very important. You know, you celebrate the 4th of July, which is a holiday where we celebrate the Declaration of Independence. It meant nothing to black people because Thomas Jefferson, the slave owner, wrote, all men are created equal, but if you look at the document, he did not mean black men. Now, the Freedom Fiesta celebrates the beginning of the sit-in movement that started in Oklahoma City on August the 19th, 1900 1958. And ever since then, we have been celebrating, and I'm talking about celebrating. And I will be telling you all about the Freedom Fiesta and its celebration. And I do have some good news for you because the NACP Youth Council elected new officers for the year 1900, for this year. Every year after the convention, the NACP elects officers. The new president is Thais Ray. The first vice president in charge of programs is Brandon Bryant. The second vice president in charge of memberships is Aman Almard. The third vice president in charge of voters registration is Steve Brown. The recording secretary is Elgina Sadberry. The membership secretary is Joshua Glisson. The attendance secretary is Diana Davis. The treasurer is Cramishala Cross. The parliamentarian, Vantine Martin. The sergeant-at-arms, Atisha Harris. The reporter is Christine Corbett. The chaplain is Roderick Montgomery. What officers. Now, the Freedom Fiesta will be starting on August the 18th, and I want to make sure that you have the facts down, and I know you are anxious to participate. On August the 18th is Doc Williams Day. Mrs. Bosie Walker is in charge of that day, and those of you that would like to join in that celebration, you are to contact Mrs. Bosie Walker. The 19th is Sit-Inners Day, and Mrs. Gloria Matthews is in charge of that day, and you may call her at 427-7856. She wants to get in contact with every person that participated in the sit-in movement. On August the 20th is Cecil L. Williams Day. Mrs. Wilma Ray and Mrs. Leola Ford are in charge of that, and they tell me they are going to have a salad festival, and I know you will want to be a part of it. Maybe you want to make a salad. On August the 21st is the President's Day, and President Thais Ray is working on a program for that day. On August the 22nd, for the first time, we're going to have the Letty Ruth Hunters and Nancy Davis and Lillian Oliver's fashion show. You may contact Nancy Davis, Letty Ruth Hunter for participation on that. On August the 23rd, we are going to be joining the Tabernacle Baptist Church's family in celebrating their 100th. Now listen to that. Tabernacle Baptist Church is 100 years old, and they have been celebrating this entire year. Tabernacle Baptist Church is located at 1829 Northeast 36th Street, and they will be celebrating with a 100th centennial banquet on August the 23rd at 7 p.m. The Kaibar Hall of Fame. It's an evening of Christian fellowship and entertainment. The lovely, dedicated Wanda Fleming Johnson is in charge of that program, and according to Carolyn Payton, it's going to be a program to remember. Now, the banquet, now get it straight, will be at the Kaibar Hall of Fame, and the tickets are only $25. And those of you that know what Tabernacle has done in this community, I know you're anxious to attend that affair. On August the 24th is Clara Luper's Day, and that's your day. Clara Luper's name signifies all of those that have prayed, participated, went to jail for freedom so that somebody as black as me can eat in any hotel, can sleep in any motel, can eat in any restaurant, can move across town, because you remember the sit-ins, you remember the marches, so black people could move out on 100th Street and on further. There will be a parade at 10 a.m., and I know you are anxious to participate. I know some of you would like to be the marshal. Just call me because I want you involved. But on that night, as a tradition, we will have the annual Clara Luper's Freedom Fiesta Banquet. And that's a banquet for all of you big shots out there, and every one of you are a big shot. Just think, the tickets are only $100, $50, or $25. You make your choice because you know exactly what will happen. You have attended our banquets since 1958, and this is going to be the biggest one that you will ever see. And we have some surprises because receiving our Eagle Award this year will be some outstanding citizens. And I'm going to give you the name of, maybe I'll give you two. Mrs. McCarver is going to be one of our recipients. And you know Mrs. McCarver, what she has meant to this community. Wesley Carmichael, who has driven a bus, a school bus, for 22 years, who has been one of the greatest disciplinarians that bus drivers have ever had in Oklahoma City. And then we are going to honor Reverend H.A. Walker, a pioneer, not only in civil rights, but in every angle. Yes, it's going to be great. And those of you that would like to participate, I want you to call me because you have always been there and you're going to dress up in your finest clothes and come on out and support it. Now, let me tell you the important part of it. The benefits of this Freedom Fiesta will be used to complete the job at Freedom Center. Don't you feel good when you pass by that and you see that monument that you helped to make possible? Don't you appreciate the many school children that come and look at this monument and study? Don't you appreciate the children that meet there trying to improve themselves? Well, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Call me for reservations, and we do have special tables, and it's going to be something to remember. Here's Steve. Steve? Hello? Hello? Steve Brown is on the line if I can get him. Steve?
Good morning, Mrs. Luper.
Good morning, Steve. I'm so happy to hear your voice.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Steve Brown, and I'm around with the sports news. Last night, the opening ceremonies of the 26th Annual Olympics were held in Atlanta. We watched anxiously as the President of the United States spoke and the countries that were participating marched in. The great Muhammad Ali was the lighter of the flame at the end of the ceremony. In the world of basketball, things are really heating up for many of the teams, despite the season being over. Lakers fans can look forward to having a new center in their lineup. Shaquille O'Neal signed with the Lakers for over $100 million over the course of 7 years. Alonzo Mourning of the Miami Heat also signed a 7-year, $100 million contract. And Michael Jordan of the Bulls resigned a 1-year, $25 million contract also. In the world of football, training camp for the Dallas Cowboys has begun. Deion Sanders will start his new position this season as a wide receiver, and it is still not clear whether or not Michael Irvin will play at the beginning of the season. This is Steve Brown saying, see you at the next game. Remember, this is Steve Brown on the Clara Luper radio show, and I will be around.
Thank you, Steve. Steve Brown, in charge of voters registration for NACP, and those of you that have not registered to vote, we've got to register, and we've got to vote. Sometimes it looks like time stops. The clock on the wall says it is time. Everything has a season. It's time to be born, and it's time to die. We are never ready for death because there are so many things about it that we can't understand. One songwriter wrote, we will understand it better by and by. So many times, we don't look at people, or we are in our own narrow world. But Reverend Clyde Carroll died, and he has left on the footsteps of time precious memories, and these memories linger. This portion of the program will be in memory of Reverend Clyde Carroll, whose funeral services will be held this Wednesday at 11 o'clock at the Emmanuel Baptist Church here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. We thought that you, the public, would like to hear from some of the people that walked with him, that worked with him, that prayed with him. Some of the people that were a part of his life, and therefore they were a part of all of our lives, because Oklahoma City loved Reverend Clyde C. Carroll. So we are going to talk today to some people that knew him in different positions. We are going to talk to Dr. W.K. Jackson. We are going to talk to Reverend W.B. Parker. And we are going to talk to Reverend H.A. Walker. This is the Clara Luper Radio Show, a show that's designed to bring you the facts. Good morning,
Good morning.
Dr. Jackson.
Yes, ma'am.
How are you today?
Doing great today.
I know you're the most. I don't know how to classify you, and I'm not going to say anything about you because I wouldn't have those people from St. John jumping on me for nothing. Did you know how much those people love you?
I think I know most about what they love me.
Well, I know one time I say something bad about you and my telephone just rung off. I just say, and you know how I just love you and we don't always disagree, but we
That's
disagree agreeable.
Yeah.
Dr. Jackson, this week we have lost a pioneer in our religious, civil rights, and community circles.
Okay.
How did you know Reverend Dr. Clyde Carroll?
I knew Dr. Clyde Carroll as one of the most committed, honest, Holy Spirit controlled preachers I've ever met.
That you have ever met in all of your
In
travels?
all of my life. And I've been preaching 66 years.
And during the 66 years, you have never met anybody
More committed, more honest, more directed by the Holy Spirit than Brother Carroll, C.C. Carroll.
Okay, now, in what areas have you worked together?
I worked with him as a fellow pastor. When I first met Pastor Carroll, he was pastoring out here in the Spencer area. And then when Brother Bratton became physically ill, the Lord laid it on Pastor Bratton's heart to lead Brother Carroll into the Great Emmanuel Baptist Church. And I knew Dr. Bratton. And he was indeed one of God's most committed preachers too.
When you were president of CCL, did Dr. Carroll work with you?
He certainly did.
In what position?
In what position? Well, Brother Carroll, you know, he likes to drive automobiles and travel around. And he made himself available to do anything humanly possible to get to the place and exhibit the way that the Lord had in accomplishing his goal.
Dr. Jackson, you have more faith than I call you the Abraham, one of the Abrahams in this city. I know you recently lost your daughter,
Yeah.
and I went to your house I just had to get to your house, and you just inspired me with your faith, and you called my attention to some things that we must do as people.
Yeah.
Would you share that with the radio audience this morning?
All right. The Lord gave me one seed, and the Lord showed me that she was a special person. And then as the time approached for him to call her from labor to reward, the Lord called my attention to a scripture that's found here in Philippians chapter 4, verses 4 through 7. And he says to me in the paraphrase scripture, that verse, or those verses, he said to me, always be full of joy in the Lord. I say it again, rejoice. Let everyone see that you are unselfish and considerate in all you do. Remember that the Lord is coming soon. Don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God your needs and don't forget to thank Him for His answers. If you do this, he said, you will experience Christ's peace, which is far more wonderful than the human mind can understand. His peace will keep your thoughts and your heart quiet and at rest as you trust in Christ Jesus.
You were able to...
That's the thing that has been done.
Well, Dr. Jackson, you were able to share words with Mrs. Carroll when you heard of the death
I
of
certainly
Dr.
was.
Carroll?
I certainly was. And I said to Sister Carol when I had a chance to call her by informed that in the funeral of my dear daughter, I was not able to get to see her as often as I would like to have. And when she told me that he was fixing to go into surgery again, I led her in the prayer. When the Lord said unto thee, O Lord, do I lift up my soul. Thou art my light and my salvation. Thou art the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? And then said to her, let the Lord have it, and let him do it.
Thank you so very kindly for being my guest this morning, Dr. W.K. Jackson. God
Keep up
bless.
the good work.
Thank you so very kindly. This is the Clara Luper Radio Show, and this portion of our show is being made possible by your favorite Allstate insurance agent, Marilyn Hildred. If you need insurance, call Marilyn, 843-0811. Today is a day that we are very thankful for because God has given us an opportunity to know a Dr. Clyde Carroll. And we are talking to the people. We are talking to the people that walked with him, that talked with him, that prayed with him. And Dr. Clyde Carroll's funeral will be Wednesday, 11 o'clock at the Ebenezer, at the Emmanuel Baptist Church here in Oklahoma City. And we'll be telling you more about that later. This is a day that the Lord has made, and we are going to have to rejoice in it regardless to what our circumstances are. Hello?
Hello.
Reverend Parker?
Yes.
This is Clara Luper, and how are you today?
Oh, I'm fine. How are you doing?
Reverend Parker, I am doing well. I'm so glad to be back home. Bertha had us to leave North Carolina a little early, but we made it back home okay. I wanted to talk to you because I knew you knew Dr. Clyde Carroll.
Yes, I did.
How did you know him?
I think the best way I could describe him is that he was a kind and gentle pastor. He cared about all people. He loved his family. He loved ministers, always accommodated us with his facilities for any kind of community meeting that was in effect, and he was just a kind and gentle brother.
All right, now you have served as a president of one of the religious organizations here.
Yes.
When you were president of the Baptist or the interdenominational, which one?
I've served as president of CCSR and the Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance. I served as president of CCL.
Now, during that time, what position did Reverend Clyde Carroll have with you?
I believe he was Secretary-Treasurer of the CCSR, and he's also Treasurer of CCL.
And during that time, he worked with you?
Yes, he did. Very faithful. I heard Dr. Jackson say he was very honest, and that accounts for why he was always treasurer.
Well, that's a good reason, because a lot of people can't handle money.
Yes, that's right.
And you knew Reverend Carroll?
Yes, I knew him both at home and on the road. He loved to travel, and I loved riding with him while he drove. I don't care to drive very much, particularly in cities, and I just loved to see him perform in cities. In the city of Washington, D.C., he drove it he knew it just like I know Spencer, and it was always a thrill to ride with him and see him evade the traffic and find his way to wherever we needed to go.
Reverend Parker, you knew how close he was to his lovely wife. What did you say that would kind of soothe the heartaches and the pain that Mrs. Carroll was suffering?
Well, I would say to her that she has been a champion of a wife. She is a kind of example that the whole world needs to see as a faithful and loving wife. She has, of course, I know that she is sorrowful and that she will grieve and miss him, but she has left no stone unturned to see that he was comfortable. She was there by his side every wake. Then wait and listen for the voice of the Lord and follow him. I know that there will be an avalanche of people who will be interested in the church because it is a good church. It's been under good administration for many, many years, both under Dr. Bratton, the late Dr. Bratton, and now the late Dr. Carroll. And there are many people from all over the country who would love to be the pastor of the church, and they're going to have difficult decisions to make, but I would suggest that they take their time, wait on the Lord, and listen to what the Lord has to say.
You've been very kind to talk to me this morning, and thank you so much, Reverend Jerry B. Parker, the pastor of the loving St. James Baptist Church in Spencer.
Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you. Funeral services for Reverend Carroll will be held on Wednesday at exactly 11 o'clock. There will be a wake on Tuesday evening. Now, he passed at 12:30 a.m. at the Baptist Medical Hospital on Thursday. Reverend Clyde's funeral services will be rendered, and Reverend Augusta Gaskins of Gaithersburg, Maryland, will deliver the eulogy. This is the Clara Luper radio show, and we are ready to talk to Reverend H.A. Walker. Reverend Walker? Hello? Okay, well, Reverend Walker will be with me in a minute. In the meantime, today's program is being made possible by Johnson Sardina's Daycare Center, located in the heart of Oklahoma City. If you're looking for a safe, educational place to put your child, remember Johnson Sardina's Daycare Center. Reverend Walker?
Yes, good morning, Miss Luper.
Good morning. How are you this beautiful morning?
I'm fine this morning, thank you.
In times of crisis, I always turn to you, Dr. Jackson, Reverend Parker, because your words and things have been so uplifting. How well did you know Reverend Clyde Carroll?
Well, I knew him very well. I knew him when he became member. I have known him over 20 years. That I met him when he became member of Emmanuel Church before the late Dr. Bratton passed on, and then I knew him as a pastor of the Emmanuel Baptist Church. I found him to be a Christian brother, a lover of people, a very caring person, and he was a kind of quiet type of person, private type of person. He was a man of prayer, and he was my prayer partner, and we would pray together from time to time.
Okay, when you say prayer partner, there are many people out in radio who don't understand exactly what you mean by that.
Prayer partner is someone you agree with that you're going to pray, and we would contact one another by way of phone and agree together to pray for the work and to pray for people. And we became partners that way.
For how many years?
Oh, I guess for about 15 years or more we've been doing that.
Now that you have lost your prayer partner, what do you do now?
I just keep praying. I have others, and one prayer partner, you pray for one, and you get another prayer partner, and you always pray for them, and you link it in and ask the Lord to give you another one to take that spot.
What do you say to those 5 children that Reverend Carroll has left, that lovely wife and the members of the Emmanuel Baptist Church?
I would say to them what Abraham said to Isaac, God will provide for them in time like this. When there seems there's no hope, God will provide. Have faith in the Lord. For he has said, I'll never leave you nor forsake you. That you may boldly say, the Lord is my helper, and I'll not fear what man shall do unto me.
It's very kind of you to take time out this morning and talk to me, Reverend Walker, and I would like to thank you. And I would also like to congratulate you because you will be honored with one of our EAGLE Awards come August the 24th.
Thank you, Miss Luper, very kindly.
Okay, bye-bye.
God bless you.
This is the Clara Luper Radio Show, and we've talked to Dr. W.K. Jackson, Reverend W.B. Parker. We've talked to Reverend H.A. Walker. We've talked to the people three of the leading ministers in this nation who have told us about Reverend Clyde Carroll, or Dr. Clyde Carroll. And you will have the opportunity to listen to some of the people that were his members, some that saw him weekly, many times daily. And be sure and remember, this is the Clara Luper Radio Show. Sometimes we don't know where to start in this business that we call living. Sometimes we have words and we don't know how to express ourselves. But this morning, I want you to know that I am bringing to you something special, and I'm doing it for a special reason. My reason is that you want to know about the Reverend Clyde Carroll. You want to know the effect that he had on the lives of people. And I have a young man who's only had one pastor in his life, and that was Reverend Clyde C. Carroll, or maybe two. Would you give me your name, please?
Raymond McDonald.
Your name is what?
Raymond McDonald.
Raymond, you have been a member of the Emmanuel Baptist Church for how long?
Since 1965.
Since what?
1965.
Okay, during that time, you've had the opportunity to know Reverend Clyde Carroll as a pastor.
Yes, ma'am.
What did you think of him as your pastor?
He was a very kind man, very supportive of whatever I do. He always spoke to you, had good words to say.
All right, and now you say that he always supported you in what you wanted to do.
Yes, ma'am.
What did you want to do, Mr. McDaniel?
Well, whatever, if I was going to be an audio person, he was there for you. Recently, 4 years ago, when I got married in Fort Worth, Texas, I asked the pastor would he be in my wedding, and he did. He traveled to San Antonio with his wife.
He was in San Antonio, Texas, and you were being married
in Fort
Worth. Okay, what happened?
And then on his return home to Oklahoma City, he stopped in Fort Worth, Texas, with his robe, and he was a co-officiant at my wedding.
Oh, he was?
Yes, ma'am.
He left San Antonio and came by Fort Worth, Texas, to help preside at your wedding.
Yes, ma'am.
Who did you marry?
Deborah McDonald.
Okay.
She was a Deborah Paley out of Fort Worth, Texas.
Oh, so you went to Fort Worth, Texas and got you a wife.
Yes, ma'am.
And Reverend Clyde Carroll went to Fort Worth, Texas and assisted in the ceremony.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now, could you give me another example of some pastoral love that he showed toward you?
A lot of times, I was a former maintenance man at the church, and there were times I come up to the church and, talk with the pastor a lot. And he would ask me, at one point he asked me, Raymond, how many weddings and funerals have we worked together? Because he would preside over them, and I would just clean up the church. And at one point we had a wedding and a funeral the same day. And I had told the pastor, I said, when you come back from the cemetery, I will be ready for the wedding. All you got to do is change shirts and robes, and we'll go again. And he said, go ahead. So
go ahead.
You just do what you got to do, and I do what I got to do.
And that's what he told you?
Yes, ma'am.
And you did your job well?
Uh-huh.
Okay, Raymond, how did it affect you when you heard that Reverend Carroll was dead?
It's kind of devastating. But you have to realize as life goes on. And, you can't keep your head down, because this has happened to the Emmanuel family before, back in 1978. But you never prepared for death. But when the pastor took ill in the sanctuary one Sunday morning.
He took ill in the sanctuary one Sunday
ma'am.
morning. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. And when he took ill, it kind of hit you right then but you didn't know how ill he was. And he never let on how ill he was because he was very concerned about the church. So there were some things that maybe we didn't really know. But he didn't let on because he was very concerned about the growth of Emmanuel and the betterment of the members of the church. So when we found out, my wife and I, we did go visit him in the hospital after his surgery. He looked a little better, and we talked about certain things. And I said, we'll keep on, because the church has to keep on.
So the church has to keep on.
Keep on going.
Okay, you're a young man, and you're active in your church, and I would like to congratulate you.
Thank you.
I taught you at John Marshall High School.
No, Northwest class.
Northwest class, and
That's
I was
right.
thinking it was John Marshall.
No.
And when I look at you, I can say one thing. Look what the Lord has done. This is the Clara Luper radio show, and it's a pleasure to be with you. It's easy to talk to those people that have worked with Dr. Carroll. But yesterday I realized that I would have to get a job done. And to do it, I would have to call on a friend of mine, a longtime friend. And I called on Melvin A. Franklin, and I said, Melvin, tomorrow I want to dedicate my program in memory of Reverend Carroll, your pastor. And what did you tell me, Melvin?
I said that would be very fine idea to do that, and I was very much interested in your program, taking on that chore.
Okay, tell me about Dr. Carroll.
Sister Luper, may I call you Clara? Because
You
I've
better
known you
call
over
me.
half.
You better call me Clara.
I won't say how long, but
I
good
don't mind.
over a half century.
Of course.
And I tell you, it's mind-boggling. I can echo the response of everyone who have spoken so far. The three pastors, Pastor Walker, Pastor Parker, and the other one. But those pastors were real close to our pastor. And every time Pastor Carroll wanted prayer, he called on his prayer partner. He also said that he also stated that his prayer partners he called on from every morning almost. And we as deacons meet every Saturday morning at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Wait a minute now, Melvin. You deacons meet at 5 o'clock in the morning on Saturday?
Prayer.
For prayer?
We know prayer changes things. And we meet at 5 o'clock in the sanctuary, not in the sanctuary, but in a prayer room, in the fellowship.
And Reverend Carroll used to meet with
He
you
met
at
with
5
us
o'clock in the morning.
Until a month ago, from the 16th, his birthday was the 16th of June. And he had met with us that Saturday morning. Saturday was, the 16th was on a Sunday, and he had met with us. I feel like he was with us that weekend or the weekend before. And from that day on, when he got his operation, when he went in the hospital, he went in on the 17th, had his operation, and he died on the 18th. And I can only say, on behalf of the church family, Clara, and what you are doing here, I just appreciate it, and I know the church appreciate it. I know his family appreciate it. Sister Carol have been so dedicated, so committed to her husband, and for 30 days until he went into the last 2 weeks, for I guess 2 weeks, and then the last 2 weeks of his life, she was with him all day, and all night, every day. And when he went in, we talked to her a long time to tell her that she had to get some rest because it was taking its toll on her. Now, Pastor Carroll was a very committed man. He loved young people. That's why we built the daycare center. He loved young college students and high school students. All through his tenure at Emmanuel, he encouraged Brother Raymond when he got ready to go to college at Arkansas State. And he encouraged everybody that was going to school, every May we recognize all graduates, all the graduates of our church. And from day one, when he took over as pastor from Pastor Braden, he have been nothing but a committed, dedicated servant. And the community is going to miss him. He was an activist in the community. He was a friend to everybody in church, along with their pastor. And I just thank God for people like Dr. Jackson, or Dr. Roseborough, who was with him Thursday night at his bedside, along with 3 other deacons and the family members.
I mean, during his illness, okay, you have told me that you all prayed together on Saturdays.
Yes.
But so many times when a minister is ill, the members go a different direction.
Right.
Did you, as a deacon and head of the deacon board, minister to the needs of Reverend Carroll during his illness?
Yes. The last day that he was in, before his operation, the deacons made a trip to his house. All of his deacons made a trip to his house. We prayed with him. He was pretty weak at that time. Again, I state that was his birthday, his 65th birthday. And we had prayer with him and with his family. And like I said, it was just a blessing that you could see his face light up, how glad he was. And during this hospital stay, we were with him almost daily. Most of us went out at least 2 or 3 times a week, most of us.
All right, and now you've done that for him, but now Reverend Carroll has answered that great call, and he's gone to report to the God that he has preached about for years. What do you feel has been his greatest contribution to your church?
To Emmanuel Baptist Church, as I stated, he was a tremendous teacher. He loved teaching, and he taught the Word. He didn't vary from the Bible. He taught the Word. And also, he loved his congregation. He was always concerned about his people. On his hospital bed, the last night that I spoke to him, he was concerned about one of his members who was in the hospital at that time and still is. He was concerned about it, and he was lying there, a very, very sick man. He wanted to eat something, and we went to get something to eat for him, which was some fruit. Sister Carol fed him. That was at 7 or 8 o'clock at night. And as I said, but he was so concerned about his members, his church family, we call it. And naturally his family, his loving wife, Sister Nella Carroll, his daughters, and his sons. He was very concerned about it. And young people on a whole, all our young people, from Brother MacDonald here to my right, to all other young people, young women that he encouraged, and he was such a committed person, committed to education. He was a very educated man. When he was going for his doctoral degree, how much commitment he had toward getting that degree. So we can only say we're going to miss him, Sister Lupe.
All right, and now let's talk about Tuesday. What happens now?
From here, prayerfully, as we stated this morning in our prayer, we're going to take our time. We're not going to rush into getting a new pastor. We're going to be very prayerful about a new pastor. Nobody, we may say, no one will just, come in and take over. We're going to be very prayerful, praying that the Lord will send us a committed pastor, and from there to take the leadership in a congregation that is At this, it's 30 years old. It's 30 years
I know.
old.
I
at
noticed that,
present.
and I received an invitation to attend his birthday party, but
Yeah.
I was out of town
Uh-huh.
and could not do it. But now on Tuesday, I understand that his body will be at the church.
At the church.
At what time?
7 o'clock.
From 7 to what time?
I don't know the extended hour, but it's set up for 7 p.m. to Tuesday.
And people can come by and
Right.
pay their respects
They
to
certainly
him.
can, and it will not. It's my understanding at this point that it will not. The casket will not be opened after then.
After the memorial services on Tuesday night, but the funeral will be on Wednesday.
Wednesday at 11 o'clock.
At Emmanuel Baptist Church.
Emmanuel
And what is the
Baptist
address
Church,
of that church?
2140 Keller Avenue.
Well,
2 blocks off of.
There are some
23rd
people that
and
would like to make donations or do something in memory of Reverend Carroll. What would you say that they could do?
I would say they could send it to Emmanuel Baptist Church, 2140 North Kelly Avenue, addressed to Sister Nelda Carroll.
Nelda Carroll.
Sister Nelda, Nelda Carroll,
In memory
in
of
memory of Reverend Clyde C. Carroll.
Okay, you have told me, and you all had prayer meeting this morning?
Every Saturday morning. Yes,
you had
this
prayer
morning
meeting this morning at
specifically.
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
How many
we
deacons
started.
do you have?
It was we have 9. It was 5 there, but one lives out of town, and it's hard for him to commute.
Thank you so very kindly. Could I call you Melvin Franklin, and they call
Please
you
do.
Deacon Franklin? Thank you so very kindly. And you owe me something. You know, I introduced you to your wife.
Yes.
And I would
yes.
like to have you invite me to dinner.
I certainly will do
Well,
that.
thank you so very kindly. We've talked to ministers and members, and now we must look at another side of Dr. Carroll. And I've invited his brother here, Brother Calvin Luper. You're a member of what fraternity?
Mom, I am a member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity, and I must say that since the day that I first went over back in 1962, Brother Carroll has been an inspiration. He's been right there with me. No matter what I may be going through, he's been a steady rock there for me, and he's been encouraging. And, you know, even though I'm not a member of Emmanuel Baptist Church, he would stop me on the stop sign, if I saw him in a restaurant, or if we were in the same area. We always were able to communicate, and that brotherly love, even today, I still feel it. And I share the loss that Emmanuel Church and our community will eventually feel, because a great man done great things, and I know that the church tradition will go on, but the great tradition that Brother Carroll has, those of us in Omega, those of us who have had an opportunity to work with him in a brotherhood type situation, know that he's a great man, know that he had great ideas, and we look forward to seeing him again, but we look forward to continuing his great works. Mom, that's just part of it, and I can't speak for all Omega, because I know that those members of Omega Psi Phi fraternity that may know him better than I will be here and be a part of the services, and I look forward to meeting with them. But on the line, I have a young lady that's has wanted to say something, and she's called, and they will be doing the services for Brother Carroll. So I'd like to speak with them now. How are you doing, Audrey? I thought I had her on the line.
Audrey?
I had Audrey here on the line.
Hello?
But how are you doing this morning?
Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry, I made a little slight technical error, but we can go on now. How are you doing this beautiful morning? Tell us.
I'm doing good, Clara
Okay.
and Mrs. Luper. It's good to be on you all's broadcast this morning. I listened to Brother Franklin making the announcements about Pastor Carroll's services, and I wanted to call and just give the full schedule, Mrs. Luper, of the services both Tuesday
Please.
and Wednesday.
Please.
Okay, 12 o'clock noon, Tuesday the 23rd, Pastor Carroll will lie in state at the Emmanuel Baptist Church. Then at 7 o'clock, there will be a wake service from 7 until 9. So he is available for viewing from 12 until 9 o'clock p.m. Tuesday. And then Wednesday morning from 9 until 11 a.m., his body will lie in state again. And then at 11 o'clock, we will close the casket and we'll have no more viewing.
All right, now, what funeral home has his body?
Miller's Mortuary. Myself and my husband, Miss Luper.
And where is that located?
It's located in Lawton, Oklahoma, and what we're asking everyone to do is to wait and send the floral arrangements on Tuesday.
Okay, now, would you repeat that, please?
We're asking that visitation and floral arrangements will start arriving at Emmanuel on Tuesday at 12 o'clock noon, and viewing is available from 12 o'clock noon until 9 o'clock p.m. that evening. And there will be a wake service from 7 p.m. until 9 o'clock p.m. with Reverend W.B. Parker presiding. And then his body will lie in state again Wednesday at 9 o'clock a.m. until 11 o'clock a.m. And at that time, the service will begin, and we will close the casket and will not have any more viewing. And Dr. J.A. Reed Jr. will be officiating that service. Also, Mrs. Luper and Calvin, let me say that the Omega Sci-Fi Fraternity and the Arcacia Lodge number 200 will be presenting their part of the service during the memorial service. And then military honors will be conducted at Trice Hill Cemetery.
Thank you so very kindly. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sister Luper. Take care.
This morning you have heard from people that have worked with Dr. Carroll, that prayed with him. And now from my closing observations. It has been a long time, and it's been a long, difficult journey. From the day that I first met Dr. Carroll, a man of few words in a civil rights meeting, but a man that stood his ground. If he told us he was going to participate, he was there, and I'm so grateful. His church doors were open to us. Encouraging words came out of his mouth to keep on. I shall never forget the meetings of the CCL during the sanitation strike. When it looked like the walls were falling down, and Reverend Carroll would get on his knees, and he would take us to his God, which was our God. Yes, I worked with him. I've seen him on many occasions, and I appreciate the fact that we would meet at the bank, and he would tell me about what was happening in his church and how proud he was of the members. And he was proud of the NAACP Youth Council, the advisors. And today, as we look down the pages of history, as we look at the names of our great heroes that have fallen, among those will always be the name of Clyde C. Carroll. We have so many things to thank God for. And today I would like to thank God for the memory of a man that loved his church, that loved his people. But to the members of Emmanuel Baptist Church, Reverend Carroll belonged to all of us. His love extended far beyond the walls of the Emmanuel Baptist Church. And my husband, C.P. Wilson, talked about him and how they worked together when he first came to Oklahoma City. And he will be missed. And now as we look to the heavens, and as we look forward to that great day when there will be no more discrimination among churches and people, we know that today there's a Dr. Carroll that's there. This is the Clara Luper radio show, and this show has been made possible by the sponsors of the Freedom Fiesta. Those of you that would like to support our program, step forward, call us and tell us that you are going to be with us. And if you don't support us, all I can say is we'll do our best. Clara Luper reporting, KTLV Radio in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And until next Saturday, I say to you, may God bless you and may God keep you. I do love you. Bye-bye.